the site of Rafal Rubi. Now this is like a double kind of megalithic site. There's two of these navetas or navetas. These are like the boat burials, like they're like chambers. One of them, the one behind me over here, has 19 skeletons found in it. The other one here, we're not so sure, but it's got these ledges where probably burials took place, but it's also got this libation bowl. So there's something going on here. These, to me, these are more ceremonial chambers, which were then later burial chambers, or even vice versa. But it's an amazing landscape around here, very fertile, and I wonder if these actually enhance the fertility of the landscape with the rituals and the ceremonies they once did here. So basically this had two floors. There's only one floor now, but you can see the way the chamber behind me kind of goes into like a sloping inwards, and these are called navetas. These are like upside down boats, which could be a representation of being inside the earth or the underworld. So let's take a closer look. Much like the giant tombs of Sardinia, it's very, very similar. Without the curved forecourt, obviously, as we find in Sardinia, we don't have that here. These are like cyclopean blocks with great lintels on top. And apparently 19 bodies, skeletons, were found in this particular tomb. So we know they were tombs, and you can see the second Naveta over in the distance, which we're going to go and check out now. So we're just approaching the second Naveta on the site here. And here we have like a bowl just carved out of the solid rock, suggesting this could be some kind of area where they would sacred bathing before they go and hold a ceremony in the main temple over in the background there. Could it be a libation table, even where sacrifices took place? Or could it be something else? So this is the second Naveta here. It's like an upside down boat here at this site in Menorca. We're going to go inside, see if we can have a look in here. It looks like a much wider entrance, a much bigger site. You can see the shape, how it comes in. Obviously the top part's gone missing, but let's take a look. Again, we have this shaped doorway as we enter, which this one's a bit larger. They've actually cut the bottom part off. This is the main chamber here, which is about the same size as the one we were just in. There's massive lintels here going all the way to the back of the chamber, much like we find in the giants' graves in Sardinia. Obviously the megalithic chambers, long barrows of Britain. And you can see above the doorway inside, there's this kind of niche. I wonder what that was used for. A burial perhaps, and a niche at the back. This is just like the chulpas of Cotimbo and Silistani have the same kind of design within them. Wow, that is amazing in there. So we're here at the Taluotic enclosures of zona Caçana in Menorca. There's several of these kind of towers here, what's left of them. There's two enclosures where some T-shaped pillars exist. They've been damaged, so we don't know if there's much left of them, but we're going to get some shots. There's caves here, there's evidence of Bronze Age settlement, and even some burials here as well. So it does suggest this was a very important, very multi-purpose site, go all the way back to the Bronze Age. So the site was used from 2100 BC all the way up to 550 BC. So it had a very long lifespan. So the more we look around these sites in Menorca, the more I'm realizing how similar they are to other sites in like Malta, Sardinia. There's obviously connections between these countries. You can't really deny that anymore. It's got to that point, I think, already on the first day here, where the connections are so obvious. It's just absolutely intriguing. And these T-pillars again are just blowing my mind. And these Naraji type towers. But anyway, and you can also see the sea from here, just over in the distance. So from on top of the tower here, you had a view of what was coming in from the southern coast there. So there's some excavations actually being done here at the site right now. And you can actually see where they're digging stuff up, they're protecting stuff, so there's stuff going on here. It's very interesting. You see these beautiful pavements as well. That's very intriguing. It's almost like perfect pavement just created to be part of this sacred precinct. So this is a Taula enclosure. You can just see that here. But this is what it would have looked like. Now obviously the great T-pillar has now completely disappeared, but this artist's impression is quite remarkable. And you can see the similarities to Göbekli Tepe immediately. The way the T-pillar is like the revered central pillar with other monoliths around the edge with a wall between them. So the similarities don't end there. We find here, not so clearly, though there are some carvings in various parts and bronze figurines of bulls and other animals, much like the animals you find carved all over Göbekli Tepe. 33 of these enclosures are known, but only 7 retain the uprights, and there's only about 12 or 13 of these uprights left in existence. Here's a small hole that looks like it's been drilled out of this piece of rock here at this site. Very intriguing. Different types of rock here compared to the other type here, which is more limestone. This looks more like kind of sarsen or basalt, even though it's probably just a firmer, stronger type of limestone. So the pre-flood giants were said to inhabit Menorca, and they dined around these great taulas. Now there's not one here unfortunately, but legend states that before the flood, so there's flood myths and stories here in Menorca, that these giants would sit around or stand around these tables and actually dine off them and eat food off them. Whether they were eating people, cannibal style, we don't know. But there's certainly, after the flood apparently, and into more prehistoric and Bronze Age times, it's known that rituals and feasts were carried out here to help bring fertility to the land during the summer months. So this is what's left of the great Taula. There's seriously not much left of it. This is probably the capstone that came off it, and it's fallen, and underneath it is probably the shape where you'd see where it fits in like a mortise and tenon joint, whereas this is what's left of the actual piece itself, the upright. Not much to go on here, but it's got a strange carving on it here. I wonder if that's got any meaning. And these are the outer uprights, menhirs, that form not circular, not horseshoe, but more of a rectangular temple. It'd be so great if that was still here, but that is all that's left of it, unfortunately. So next to the great megalithic tower, we have another enclosure here which had some of the Taula pillars, the T-shaped pillars. So this is the western enclosure here, but this is very intriguing because apparently this kind of T-shape just here, with the lower stone and the small lintel, is supposed to be a representation of the goddess Tanit, who was a goddess of the Carthaginians in about the 5th century BC, roughly when this was supposed to have been built. So how they think that represents her, I don't know, but if that's the case, then maybe all the T-pillars supposedly represent her. So it's very intriguing, but to me this looks much older than 5th century BC, much older. And just inside here, you go inside this sort of portal entrance, which is like a real portal to another world. Then you have one of the great T-pillars, the Taulas there, being propped up by a couple of polygonal blocks. And then with the great mortuary tower behind it, which is pretty much mostly collapsed. There's not too much left of it, but around the edge here, you can see some remains of the pillars. The top's missing off that one. Very much like Gigantia in Malta, Gozo. So I'm in another one of these sacred enclosures here, and you can see the pillar behind me without the top part of it. It's gone missing, unfortunately. And only 33 or so of these enclosures throughout Menorca, but only 7 or so have fully Taulas, the full Taula with the T-shaped pillars and everything, every part of it. This reminds me of Gigantia. It's so similar. Cyclopean blocks, menhirs around the edge, often with this T-shape, and it just shows you how vast and amazing the megalithic stonework here is in Menorca.